talk about the material. Did you get a sense that you had some horses?
Well, you know, when you finish at that time, you know, if you finished last place, you always got the first draft choice or first pick on the board. Well, Green Bay had finished at the bottom so long, here's all these #1 picks sitting around there. And nobody seemed to be able to do anything with it. And they had high draft choices. And that time, you only could keep 33, so
sure.
Whatever, there was a fine essence of material. And nobody seemed to be able to put it together, because when you do get an athlete that has his own charisma or whatever you want to have, he's an individualist to a large degree. It's hard for him to be a team person because he knows who he is, or thinks he knows who he is. And Vince just took that mixing pot and put it all together.
There was a foundation for greatness. 6 players on the 58 squad, including halfback Paul Hornung, would become Hall of Famers and cornerstones of the team's future.
Our ball players were not that bad compared to the other teams, but we didn't have that winning attitude. We did not have it. But the stage was set, the whole thing was set for someone like Lombardi.
Lombardi. A certain magic still lingers in the very name. It speaks of duels in the snow and cold November mud.
If 1958 was the Packers' winter of discontent, it was made glorious summer by this son of Brooklyn. As Green Bay's head coach, Vince Lombardi authored a turnabout as epic as any Shakespearean drama. The lovable losers of '58 were transformed into a dynasty of world champion Hall of Famers. The difference, simply, was Lombardi.
Some characters. Talk to me about a Jim Taylor.
Well, Jimmy come up there. Jimmy come out in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, from LSU. And let me tell you what, he knew one thing: go north and south. He didn't go east and west. And I'll tell you, you started to block for him, because if you didn't block for him, he ran up over your back, your head, your hands, and everything else. And all he'd say is, get out of my way. So you learned to block for him. And went on to prove that Jimmy Taylor was the fullback that he was. And, you know, Paul Hornung come up there as the essence as a bonus pick and a Heisman Trophy flop and the rest of it. And, Vince got there and he was what he was. You know, but when he first was drafted as a bonus choice and all the rest of it, here comes Paul Hornung into Green Bay. He was just another player until Vince got there. And then all his elements came out.
2 stars, the Hollywood handsome Paul Hornung and tougher than nails Jim Taylor.
Oh, Jimmy Taylor was unbelievable. He was a fierce, fierce competitor. And then when anybody tackled him, it was an insult. And if he bit him, or punched him in the groin, or pushed their face in the mud.
You don't find many people that walk the path that he walked.
You see, you read about him being such a disciplinarian on the field. Was he tough off the field? What about curfews, things like that?
Oh, let me tell you what, curfews and appointments. You be at that plane, let me tell you, if that plane was supposed to leave at 11:05 and you walked out, well, it happened one time with Paul. You walked down that ramp at 11:06, that door was shut, and they were gone, and you were going to get fined, and you had to get there. And that was simple as that. So he never took a roll check, nothing. The buses left at a certain time, and exactly by his watch. And everybody, you see everybody peek at his watch, so they set the time by his watch, because there was time, and then there was Vince Lombardi's time. And if you're 5 minutes early, you've already been 10 minutes late. So, but it was good. I think the regimentation and the discipline has taught me a lot in life, and it is important to myself.
So there was no sense of rebellion. Dennis Rodman wouldn't have lasted with it.
No. If you had that inside of yourself or your system such as that, you wouldn't be there. You couldn't last, because the regimentation and the way the discipline was, etc., that you had to live it his way or take the highway.
He started out with discipline. He started out with the fact that if you're not willing to accept my criticism, if you're not willing to accept my work ethic, if you're not willing to accept doing it my way all the time, every day, goodbye. We don't want you.
At the outset, this son of Brooklyn was a son of a different type to many of the players.
I think initially he did unify us in a common resistance to him, maybe a hatred. It was just fire on fire initially.
What the hell's going on out here?
As I see it now, I understand it, but at that time I didn't. I thought he was just an evil old man that enjoyed torturing people.
Hey, it's supposed to be a hell of a defensive club. It didn't look like it to me. All the way down, about 70 yards.
He would tell us many times, the greatest motivation in the world's fear, period. That's it. You know, if you're going to lose your job, you're afraid of losing your job, that'll motivate you.
I'll tell you something, Leroy, you're not going to get your job back unless we get a better performance.
He's the kind of a guy that wanted you on the bit. He wanted you emotionally involved in the contest.
Are you turning out, or are you running almost a drag out? All you got to do is turn out. We just went over this with you a moment ago. Well, you just didn't do it if you got it. What do you mean you got it?
And he would tug and push and pull.
Come on, look at me, 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 look at me.
And pat and hug and caress and kiss and do whatever he had to do. And he seemed to have a great ability to reach inside you and turn your motor on.
That's the way. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Hey, he's getting the feel, that boy.
You were an all-pro 10 years?
10 or 11 years.
Center, and who was the toughest guy to block? I mean, who's the guy that you said, oh, I don't want to, my head's going to ring tomorrow. I really don't want to play this guy.
There's numbers 56. See him every Turkey Day. His name was Joe Schmidt.
Okay.
Joe would let me know it was going to be a long day. Going to be a very long day. And I'd let Joe know it was going to be a very long day. And it was and yet we set out the Pro Bowl, and my number was 51, and his was 56. My name was Ringo, and his was Schmidt. We buried alongside each other. And we go to Pro Bowls. Morning, Joe. Morning, Jim. See you, Joe. See you, Joe. that was the end of the conversation. But there was a lot of great ones, though. You know, that just singled. You know, Bill George from Chicago and Sam Love, and there was Mo Gillespie's and the Greers and Leo Nominelli's, and there was a lot of great.
You get a sense when Bart came on board that he was of star quality, no pun intended.
Well, see, I played against Bart when he was down at Alabama in college, and when Bart came in, Bart was a very quiet type person. The finest, most intelligent, articulate quarterback that I've ever been around in my life. I mean, you knew when he called the play. He had a reason. He knew it would go if you would do your job. And he would do his job as good as he could do. And so, and you know, you always felt a little embarrassed if one of your people took a hit on Bart, pass protection or something, because Bart would never say a word. He might say, oh, come on, fellas. But he'd never swear, never got upset. So here was a quarterback playing out there in the field that you not only had respect for his intelligence and his ability, but also the person that he was. Bart was one of the finest people that I ever come in contact with. And I didn't feel him there, but I knew he was there.
Yeah.
We had a good rapport.
The Hall of Fame offensive backfield, quarterback Bart Starr, a leader whose demeanor was the perfect balance to Horning's swagger and Taylor's ferocity.
Bart Starr is probably one of the purest gentlemen you'll ever want to meet. But on the football field, he'll cut your heart out and show it to you. He probably completed more fourth down and one passes than anybody in pro football. Coach Lombardi would say, what's he going to call? Is he going to run it on fourth down? I said, Coach, you can bet he's going to throw it.
Anybody can play when there's really nothing at stake. But I really think the measure of the player is how well he plays under pressure when you have to win.
You had a couple guys on your right and left-hand side, Jerry Kramer.
Jerry Kramer, right.
And Fuzzy Thurston.
Fuzzy Thurston, left and right. And it was Bob Skoronski and Forrest Gray.